the library board meeting on Wednesday, July 16th. It is 6 p.m. This is a hybrid meeting being held at Village Hall and online via Zoom. The Zoom link is at the top of the agenda. We do have a quorum, and the agenda was properly posted. So with that, this is the public's opportunity to speak. So, if any, okay. And I don't see anyone on Zoom, so moving on. First agenda, or the next agenda is discuss and consider minutes from the June 18th library board meeting, which are attached to the agenda.
I'd make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Cindy, seconded by Megan. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. There are no presentations to the library board or old business or new business at this time. So moving on is programming report. So with this, I'm going to invite Monica up to, well, not up, but from where she's seated, to discuss programming and the fall schedule here that you've already outlined, right? Draft outline.
Thank you. Just to catch up on programs and presentations to this point, we did continue with the distillery in June on the 26th. We had 4 in attendance, but we had such fabulous conversation that we went over for an extra 30 minutes because Downrins is open. There was really cool engagement with book recommendations, and from our conversations, there's some interest in possibly changing the date of the week, the day of the week, just because it coincides with trivia nights. And through the winter months, should this be a program that we want to continue, it might be nice to find kind of a better balance. So working and looking into that, but continuing for July's, I think it's the 24th is the calendar. I was like, ooh. And so we will just do that Thursday night as well in the garden area. And that's again from 8 until 9. And with that program, the plan will be to create kind of a link and a QR code with book recommendations. So as people there will be there, and it'll be totally anonymous, so no one will know what you're reading. But those of you, if you want your name tagged, by all means. But it's just, again, just really quirky conversations. So it's fabulous. Then we started just last week on Thursday with our summer story times from 9:30 to 10:30 at Bakken Park. For July, it is very ocean water themed. We kicked off with Shark Week last week. It was amazing. We had 35 individuals in attendance at my best count, which is probably a bit conservative. Our ages ranged anywhere from little tiny toddlers all the way up to tweens, and so just kind of ran the gamut for that. There we read stories, sang songs, everything, and then we had different stations and zones, sensory craft areas. Really want to get into sensory tables, that kind of concept to it for that engagement. And it actually got to the point where after 10:30 I had to start packing up around people, so I took that to be a great thing. And there were just a few stragglers that were left, which was fine. But yeah, so great attendance. There was a lot of enthusiasm that it was starting back up again, interest in coming for the next week. One child, she totally put me in my place. I was incorrect as to who illustrated a book, and she goes, no, this is it. So don't worry, I corrected it and acknowledged it, and later sent a message to the grown-up saying, your kiddo was right. And she goes, yeah, I thought she might have been. I was like, well, I'm so sorry. But no, great. So this week, again, Thursday, 9:30 to 10:30 at Bakken, and this week's theme is ocean. So again, we're gonna have some sensory elements to it, some gels with ocean animals. Of course, we're reading Pout Pout Fish, because why not? If I don't hear tons of glub glubbings, I'm going to be very disappointed. And then we had our first playground play date at Glen Grove. We have been working together, speaking with Lisa, who's actually at Glen Grove. Jamie kind of oversees that. We've had some great conversations, went ahead and started. We're calling them our playground play dates at this point. The plan is just to be outside, kind of gathering people to us. We took cornhole, we took stepping stones, played on the playground. I had music going, Disney radio, I swear. And we were singing Moana, you missed it. And had stories, had crafts and coloring pages. Sadly, we did not have any of the residents in attendance. However, we did have 5 people, by those that I gathered to us, my own children and friends, and said, hey, come on. And we played around on the playground. We played Lava Monster. We had so much fun. So my hope is that we saw some residents kind of keep an eye on us, like what's going on. So it's just going to be a slow going, and we're just going to keep up very consistent Tuesdays, 4 to 4:45. It'll be outside, either on the actual physical playground, or it will be on the picnic tables off of the community room or inside the community room itself, weather permitting. And again, we're just doing this year round. The plan is that during the school months, we will turn it into even like a homework help station, reach out to some high school clubs if they have some community, or some members that need community service. I would love if grown-ups and or our fabulous board would like to consider looking at their calendar and saying, hey, I'm free this Tuesday, I'd love to come. I think that presence would be really positive. We did meet a lot of the residents that were bringing their dogs out for walks, and we of course petted all the dogs. So I might start bringing dog treats because it was a real big hit, playing and interacting with them. So although that they were grown-ups and it wasn't necessarily our intended target, hopefully by communicating and just being that presence will build up. And I do want to give a huge shout out to our Cottage Grove police, the village police. They have offered their assistance to come and help with programming, just kind of waiting. So we'll reach out and let them know the dates for that. So if they would like to kind of come by, play cornhole with the kids, whatever, different things. So the plan is ongoing to work on those consistent story times. That Thursday morning, 9:30 to 10:30 is going to be a year-round thing. For the month of August, we're going to start including some kind of STEAM based on Tuesday afternoons, continuing with the Glen Grove. I do want to start bringing in a tween scene and teen time once a month. So that way we'll kind of move forward with that, hopefully build up that interest for that. We do have the community night out on the 20th. So the plan is to kind of mix up and meet that National Civility Month kind of kindness cards at the table. We do have some stickers, so that is a purchase that I've made for that. So it's like 200 all age-friendly stickers that are kind of a grab and go. I also did start purchasing some Legos. It was on Prime Day. I couldn't pass it up, especially when I found out that we don't have sets of our own, and that we were having to borrow from community members. That really limits the ability for programming ongoing for that, especially pop-up programs. So I did go ahead and spend that. It was a whole $50, and I think we've got like 1,000 Legos at this point. And then I did get some Magnetiles for that too. So all in, I don't think I spent more than $100 for this past month, and that was reached out and officially reports given to Sarah. So, and then we did buy 3 books. We're doing on July 21st at 6 p.m. a Write Your Own National Park story.
Just so you know, I have the calendar up for you.
So JP's brilliant. And so that's August. I actually have all the way through to December. I did reach out to Sensory Santa. He immediately responded to me, which was great. So we are tentatively looking at Saturday, December 13th or Sunday, December 14th. Those were the days that he suggested and was going to fit in his calendar. So I think we should be able to have that firmed up within the next month. So I know that that was a big hit, and we want to make sure to continue with that. I did try to go through and pre-plan programs for all of the no school days for 4K. So we will do specific 4K no school days, which is the first Monday of each month, a special kind of program for that. For example, in September, I have us going to McCarthy Park doing a going on a bear hunt hike and story. It's one of my favorites. And again, that tween scene and teen time as a monthly thing. Also for district-wide no school days, I do have programs already in place for those dates. I have reached out to middle grade authors. I don't have many nice things to say about that. Just know that I'm working on it. Apparently people don't like to respond. So I sent a gentle nudge as a reminder. I started reaching out in June for that, so it's been just almost a month and still crickets. So I've followed back up. Hopefully we'll get some information. If anyone has any connections to middle grade authors, I'd be very interested. And I'd love to tie that into the tween scene or teen time, kind of a book club, kind of a read, or giving access to those youth specifically and first and foremost for that. So I think that would be cool. So I have reached out to, I think, 3 middle grade authors. They're all Wisconsin-based authors as well, trying to make sure to hit that home. And I am meeting on tomorrow morning with Robin Smeekle, who she and I are going to discuss which of Peter Guy's books we're going to select for the all-community read, so that it is in the works. I should be able to message everybody tomorrow afternoon with a for sure which of his 6 titles the friends are happy to purchase and to move forward with. But otherwise, those dates are there. I double-checked with Lake Ridge Bank, and they have the room reserved for us for the ongoing Zumbini story times. Met some new families at just this past last week's story time. They were excited about that. So hoping to go forward. Most everything's on here. There were, like I said, there were a few things that I had unknown. And as soon as I get it shored up just a touch more, I would love to be able to send that to you guys so everybody can kind of look to see ideas. But it does hit all ages. I did reach out to Drumlin Reserve Residences. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. No reply. So I'm going to do an in-person visit to see, because I really, really want to make sure that we start doing some adult programming. Their space is fabulous, and I'd love to do that. Some of the adult programming in mind. I've joined some Facebook librarian programming groups, and I really want to do a cookbook book club. So I thought that would be really a fun adult program, and that's a great place to host it. Plus, there was previous conversation surrounding a senior story time with youth. And so I want to make sure that I've got a few dates in there that we hit up. If it could even be a monthly ongoing program, I think that's great. So it's a heavy program load, but it's consistent more than anything. And I think that would really benefit our community at this point, with that consistency, like, hey, it's Thursday morning, this is what we do. And I know that I get confused when it's a first Thursday of the month versus second. And so just if we can be a touch more consistent with that, I have the time, I have the interest and the desire. So hopefully that comes through and it helps.
How's the budget look for the rest of the year then? Have you,
Super utilize everything that we have supply-wise available to us. And I am incredibly thrifty. I do not like to spend money if it is necessary. A big thing in cost savings with that will be not paying speakers. I don't like that as my personal thing, especially surrounding a public library. If someone is leading a story time, I don't like to pay them for that, especially if there is personal self-promotion through that. I think that as a library, you are then condoning and advocating and supporting that, and that's a huge statement to be made with a program. So as long as I can do it, or I can have volunteer options, that is the route that I would like to go. I have been in contact with, I want to say it's Bell, for the Dungeons and Dragons. And so there is interest. Time constraints are really, really particular. So whether or not they are able to help lead it, or they had a student who was interested in kind of being the dungeon master. That's all the knowledge that I have about it right now. But there was a question on payment for that. that's going to eat up my budget, and that's not going to reach a lot of people. So I would rather put my money where it is of best use. I defer to you all, and if you believe contrary, let me know. But otherwise, as thrifty as I can make it, utilizing what we have on hand. We're actually doing a recycling craft because we're reading Lois Ellert's fish book, Rainfish, on Thursday. So
Yeah, I think in terms of the Dungeons and Dragons, that was a priority that's come up over and over again, and I know we have requests for it. Yeah, I don't know what costs are associated with.
there's cost in supplies. I have no problem with the purchasing of the supplies. You have to have special dice for the game. You have to have a special board. And I think that the library, by all means, if this is going to be a program that we're supporting, make that investment, just like I did with the Legos. If this is going to be an ongoing or reoccurring program, by all means, put your money where it's going to be used. And I don't think it's up to whomever is hosting that program to provide those supplies. That would be something that we house, we're responsible for that care and keep of those. But just to pay a dungeon master, I don't love that. From a lot of the programming that I've been following, the outreach, Bookmobile especially, just because it kind of falls more to our niche that we are, without having a physical structure, they don't pay for those services. Or if they do, they're libraries with thousands upon thousands of community members. And with our numbers, I cannot justify that personally, unless, again, you all think that it needs to be so. And at that point, you would have to say, do you pay an hourly thing? Because, oh yeah, these games can run 2 to 3 hours. Do you just do it for a night? What's the expectation that goes with that? What do you think?
I think it'd be helpful at the next board meeting to have a little more information about what because I don't think any of us know what the program actually entails in terms of personnel and supplies and equipment, and like what that cost breakdown is.
The cost for the supplies and everything will be a solid $150 because
Okay.
it is like themed. You can get some knockoff type items, which I don't think that should be a big deal. And I have like enough that I can go off of for the supplies. But again, that's $150. That would be in theory 12 programs. It would be a year thing. I'm assuming once a month, maybe even twice a month. Oh gosh, 24 times. For a cost of $150 is nothing. Like, that's great. My concern is in the payment of someone to facilitate it for that Dragon Master position. If it comes to that, I'll research and learn how to do it myself before I pay somebody else. I just can't. But again, defer.
Yeah, I guess I'd like to see like what that hourly rate is, and because I know that I'm assuming that there is a cap to how many can participate in, and I know that they fill up all over. So, and I still think that that's something that we've been asked to do, and like that's been missing. So I think I'd just like to see that information and what the budget breakdown is. But if it's not beyond the scope of our budget, I think it's something that's likely worthwhile.
What do you find as a reasonable amount?
I just don't know what the hourly rate for a dungeon person is.
Okay.
But yeah, I guess I'd like that information before making a decision on it.
Can we find out from Monona Library or McFarland, or I know there's other local ones around here that host these types of things?
Not libraries, because of the expense, and it becomes an interest, and then the program itself tends to morph. Because it usually becomes an evening thing, and because it goes from a 2 to 3 hours, it morphs outside of a library purview. So then it becomes a private club that then people find other places to go. So typically, like, a library will start it, and then it it leaves the library. For most of the libraries that I've followed and I've looked at, that is what has happened. So they'll start it, and then it becomes something else. And again, I think that's what happens if you're paying a facilitator for that, because you're not showing that it is a library enclosed program.
Which actually might bode well for Cottage Grove, because we don't have the library. And so it can morph and go all over. But I think like, again, the tween
Yeah.
space is just something that we've struggled with.
Well, and again, by starting with like, I don't find the Dungeon and Dragon so much as a pressing immediate, only because it is so specialized, whereas the built-in monthly tween scene and teen space, or vice versa, I've got to figure out those names. And so, but I think that that is where is going to lie, like the building of that age group. A lot of the programs, especially the STEAM-based ones, there's a nature mandala program I really want to do here in August. I think that's fun. That's accessible for families of all ages. So I think there's some flexibility to it, but I'll happily research the very nuanced and very specific cost breakdown for that.
Yeah, and just to clarify, I know sometimes doing it by hours not the easiest. So a lot of times they do it by campaigns and et cetera. So
Well,
just
and
give me
there's a
that.
way to close it down so that it's not like an ongoing campaign. And so I've loosely researched for that so that it can just be, but still you're looking a solid 1 to 2 hours, even for like that closed timeline for it.
Mhm.
So then if you even do like $50 a pop, like, I don't know.
Yep, I'm just pointing that out for your research, like
Yeah,
presenting how it comes through. You don't have to convert it to hourly.
Okay.
We can have that conversation within the library board.
Can you talk a little bit about how if you'll be getting this up on the website or
So-
when the calendar will be live for the public? Because I know we get questions from village board trustees and the community about.
Well, unfortunately, that's
Updated.
where my tech issues really hit the fan, where I didn't have that access. Unfortunately, something was not clicked, and so I did not have the access to do that. So I couldn't actually see when I was supposed to get it all in and to whom. So the plan is, hopefully, we should have for sure all of August's calendar there. And once that's done, in theory, all of the months can go up and just kind of be tweaked accordingly as new programs kind of come into place.
And then-
Everything has been kept up on the website as best, or on the Facebook page at this point.
Yeah,
Um,
because I think we had the website, the newsletter, and then the village
I
newsletter
didn't
too.
have access to the newsletter, so I don't have, everybody's like, yeah, just use the template. Well, I
Mhm.
can't get the template. So
Okay.
that's been
I
fun.
I think I have everything or access to everything, so I can
that would be
also try and
fabulous.
facilitate, just copy me on everything.
Is there any thought then, I guess, because so many of these programs for the fall are recurring and consistently the same date, time? I know in the past we've done like those handout sheets and physical things that people can get. Do we have any plan to do any of that kind of marketing or publicity so that if people come to an event, they can get things? Or
I'd like to do the long one for the community night. That's what we had
Yes.
most recently talked to. So a lot of it was just making sure everybody was comfortable with the move forward with these reoccurring ones. So that way I can reach out. I do have that person's information. So I'd like to get that done, specifically thinking community night would be the first one, and then transferring that to back to school nights, which are the following week. I think those are the biggest ways for us to in person get those in hand. So that would be the plan for that physical kind of like half sheet
Yeah.
flyer.
And that's just, we made those on Canva. If you need the template, I can share it with you. I think
Perfect.
I have it. And if we don't have a library board specific Canva account,
We don't.
I think you should probably get one and
Okay.
purchase that.
Are we
I know the
comfortable with the
village-
purchasing of it?
I would recommend that. I know the village has their own, but it's shared amongst, and Canva is a heavily used tool for the library board, and so, for a monthly membership, it's $12, I think. So I would buy
If we're
the
comfortable, I'll get
Canva
that
Pro.
set up tomorrow.
Yes.
I've just been using the free version.
No.
Any other comments, thoughts, suggestions, or Monica, anything else you want to highlight now that we have this pulled up?
There are programs for sure for each and every age group at this point. So that's been hit. Again, the no school days, building in the no school days for 4K, that was not a previous established program. To go back, Glen Grove would like for their programs to not per se be like event created and advertised on Facebook. Just because it then becomes a trick to get into the physical space. So it is something that we're doing. Yes, anyone is open and welcome, just not overly advertising it. Is the library okay with that?
Remind me, what events are happening at Glen Grove?
That's the Tuesdays.
Just the
4 to
Tuesday
4:45.
playground
That's
thing.
all that it is.
Okay,
And
so it's outdoor.
again, it'll move in, yeah, so
It'll
right now
move
it's
indoors,
outdoor,
but-
so in theory, anyone can. But on times when it is inside the physical building is when it becomes tricky. If a child were to come up to us, outside, absolutely, they're welcome. Like, that's not what this is about. It's just the getting into the physical building because it is a locked, keyed entrance, and it is after hours of office staff. So there's no way to like buzz in, and you can't prop the door, that kind of a thing.
Yeah, I think that's okay for right now because we've kind of earmarked that budget specifically for, you know, those events. I mean, it sounds like word of mouth is more appropriate to try and, you know,
I concur.
get, yeah, those residents in that area to come. I think that this schedule, especially the consistent dates, is going to be really helpful for people. I like it.
Sorry, I can't read that far away, and I don't see it on here. Did we have a date for the community, the all-community read? Or is
That
that
was
still-
still up in the air
Okay.
because waiting on the actual
Oh,
book
okay.
at this point, because I don't want to pick a day, and if we can't get that book in, so I'm slightly panicked. My hope is that that should be solidified here within the next week or two. So that's where that specific date will fall into place. But I was still looking at similar time of year. We had done October, I believe. There were a few conflicts, so trying to be aware of those.
Okay. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Hearing none, we will move on to our next agenda item. So, communication miscellaneous business vouchers. There are no vouchers, but attached is the library expenses details. So, in that you can see what has, as of, I believe it was a couple weeks ago or a week ago. So that gives us a pretty good update on where we are budget-wise, and as Monica kind of shared, it's looking pretty good in there. Any questions about the budget?
Take it you don't need a motion because there's nothing to motion on.
Correct, there's no, yes, this is just more of an update. Okay, moving on. Committee reports, there are none. Village board updates, Cindy.
Yeah, I think, I don't remember when I applied for it, but we got $1,000 for STEAM library programming from the Alliant Energy Community Grant. I just got it right before we started this meeting. So I think, I'm not sure what I wrote it on, but I'm assuming, I mean, we've got some STEAM stuff coming up and sensory tables you mentioned. I'm starting to get some other things going on, so this might be helpful to enhance some of the STEAM series that we're coming up with.
Yeah, I'd like to
I gotta
see what
take
it
a look.
is, so that way I can make sure that we fit and build the programs around it.
Yeah, there's, we'll have the money in 60 days, 45 days, and there's a media kit, there's just some acknowledgements that has to happen, and I'll figure out what we're supposed to do with it and send it on to all of you. But that just happened, so.
Yay, thanks,
not bad.
congratulations.
Thanks. That's all I have.
Thank you, Cindy. For my report, not too much for correspondence updates besides what Monica has kind of alluded to already. So as a reminder, we do have the community night out coming up here on August 20th. And so with that, I will be sending out a sign-up sheet for us to help staff the table, volunteer, because we do have that table in there. We don't want Monica to be the only one there at all times, along with me. So just an FYI, library board members, that will be coming out to your mailboxes here shortly. And as always, if there's any other community members that are heavily involved that would be good representatives of the library board and kind of talk to about the things that we do, we could definitely tap their shoulders or encourage them to volunteer if need be.
What's the official time of that event that night?
The official time is setup starts at like 3:34, if I recall from the email, but that's something that I can help set up and get everything all set. But then it's 5 until
I think it's 8.
8, I want to
With
say.
the movie after.
Yeah.
8. I'm sorry, I'm trying to pull up the events in here, but I believe 5 to 8. And if I need to correct that, I will let y'all know soon. As I looked it up, the other big update here is the village staff has reached out about the village guide, the big brochure that they talk about with all the village, and kind of highlight different programming and things that are happening in the village, different offices. And so in previous editions, there has been a spread, a few pages for the library board. So I know Monica's already kind of looked at it. I'm going to be looking at it as well. Taking some of our programming stuff that we just talked about, we'll be putting that in there. Pretty much keeping the same structure as has been done in the previous editions. So just know that will be coming out here in the next, give or take, a few weeks to a month. And with that, that's all that I have at this time. Moving on, Friends report. Not sure if we have any updates from Friends. I don't believe so. And then moving on, so announcements. So we kind of talked about the community night out. Remember, because of that's happening during our regular scheduled library board meeting, we will not have an August meetings in there. So that means our next meeting will be on Wednesday, September 17th, 6 o'clock in Village Hall, and also hybrid as well. Other than that, are there any other future agenda items? I heard the Dungeons and Dragons.
The 2026 budget needs to be approved in September by the library board.
Okay.
I can help you with, I can do it.
So we will have the budget ready to go for that September meeting to prepare for the fund budget cycle. Any other future agenda items? With that, I will entertain a motion for item 16.
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Motion by Megan, seconded by Cindy. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? With that, thank you very much, everyone.